Struggling, yeah. Struggling for survival.
YouTube, what's up, Bud from Hey Bud, and I'm back with my buddy from Greeno Gardens and wanted to talk about a topic that not a lot of people know about, but it's something that that Bud and I have been using in our gardens for a long time, and in the yard as well, which is one reason why I think we've had such a good crop this year. We're pulling record squash out of our garden this year, and the only thing that I've changed is adding the sea crop minerals to the garden. And my buddy knows as much as anybody that I know about this topic, and I wanted to just have him talk about it and get the information out there to share with everyone. So I don't even know where we start here, Bud.
Sure, I know where we're going to start. So, you know, Bud, the important thing about sea minerals and ocean solids, sea solids, Ormus, the key thing with all of that is that it's a mineral, and the ocean itself is a place that hosts all of the periodic table minerals and elements in a perfect balance and in seawater. Now, there's a couple of books out there, Fertility from the Ocean Deep from Charles Walters, and Sea Energy Agriculture also from Acres USA, and they're both published by Acres. But this is in regards to the life of Dr. Maynard Murray. Now, Dr. Maynard Murray was a ear, nose, eye, and throat specialist from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. He died in 1982. But what he did is he was the pioneer on sea energy agriculture, which is the use of sea solids in field crops and hydroponic usage. So there's a couple of products out there. I'll skip through a little bit of the history on that, but there's to learn a lot and the in-depth study on the science on this. These books are really great to read. They're not how-to books. They don't tell you how, because the doctor's work was all actually thrown away when he died in 1982. So all of his work and the details of his work was lost. But the publisher of this company, Acres USA, actually wrote these books based on recollection and texts and articles that have been written over the years on the life of Maynard Murray and the use of sea salts in agriculture and agricultural use. So
that's just crazy.
I'll tell you what, everybody knows in agriculture that sodium chloride or table salt kills plants. If you put sodium chloride into water and feed it to a plant, you're going to kill the plant. It's not going to survive. It can't survive sodium chloride. As a matter of fact, if you do read the books will even tell you that the Chinese people back in the old days used to commit suicide because they would take as little as 5 teaspoons of salt, sodium chloride, in the form of sodium chloride, and ingest it, and it would take your life. So doctor also talks about how in the 30s, 40s, and 50s the FDA was talking about outlawing sodium chloride as used for table salt because of its toxic form to human beings. But today it's on every table in the whole entire world in the sodium chloride form. Now, I think that was something that shocked me. But also what shocked me the most is that the doctor talks about mineralization, and the mineralization that we're going to find in these things are things that are depleted in the soils today. They're depleted in inert ingredients like hydrogen, rock wool, agroponics with the sphagnum peat moss and the cocoa, or in perlite. We don't have any type of mineralization in that, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's 3 types of products. There's the C90, which is the sea solid form. I'll show you that in a moment. There's the sea crop concentrate, which is the liquid form. And then there is something very famous a lot of people out there are investigating and looking into called Ormus. And this is it in its liquid form, made by the wet precipitation method at home.
Can you spell that?
It is spelled ORMUS, and it stands for orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, or ORMES, is a way you could look it up. On the internet, if you wanted to find information about Ormus, you could go to www.subtleenergies.com. There's a gentleman, Barry Carter, there, has more information and is the expert and the authority and can give all of the proper information on Ormus. But today we're going to talk about Ormus not for the use of spirituality or for psychic abilities or for decalcifying your pineal gland, but we're going to talk about it for use with agriculture. You can look up something on Google called Ormus Picture Book, and it'll take you directly to the photographs of crops that have been enhanced with Ormus. But let me tell you a little bit about the minerals that's in it and what it is. It's not something supernatural. It's a natural product, but it's not supernatural. Even though a lot of people do believe it's very spiritual, we can ID that in a minute. But first up is the C90, the C90 agricultural mineral. Now this is a sea solid form of air and wind, wind and solar dehydrated seawater. If you can get a close look of that, can you see that, bud?
Yep.
Okay. Now this is actually solar dehydrated seawater in ponds in Baja, Mexico. And this has a slight brownish tinge to it. This is the agricultural grade. There's other grade, food grade, that are much whiter, and another grade there that they offer. But all of these will work. You can dissolve this for hydroponic. You can usage in water to grow solely in this as a hydroponic nutrient. You can top dress organically across all the no-till feedings that Bud does here in his wonderful garden, indoors and out. But what this does is, this is the seawater. They found that seawater was expensive to transport through the United States to the fields and the farms that were benefiting from this, especially the Amish communities. So they found that it was much better to dehydrate the seawater in Mexico and ship it in this form where it could be diluted and then sprayed. This is perfect to be used as a foliar feed or a drench. It could be drenched, top dressed, or foliar feeded, but all 90 plus minerals of the periodic table are in this, along with sodium chloride. Now, the one thing about this method is this sodium chloride, should you throw this in your mouth and taste it, tastes just like table salt, but a lot sweeter, and you can taste that there's other additions within it that literally explode flavor for food when you use good sea salt for the table. Now, this isn't sea salt grade to use on the table, it's for agricultural use, but my point is that the flavors that you do taste within it let you know that it's far more robust than the chemical flavor of sodium chloride. So sodium chloride in this contents with all 90 elements of the periodic table are in perfect balance, and that your plant can uptake these minerals. And based on Iliad's law of minimums in physics, the genetic perfect of the plant is dictated by the least available element, not the most abundant. So the things that are down and dirty in this that we barely can even find testing them in the periodic table are the things that are impacting your plants the most. And they're things that can't be found in man-made products, only in a natural product in a natural form like this.
That's cool.
All right.
And he said 90 trace minerals. We should take a quick gander and see what else out there provides 90 trace minerals.
The interesting thing about this is that when this was tested, the person who runs the C90 business was an apprentice to the great Dr. Maynard Murray himself. So when this was tested, it actually had 90 elements of the periodic table, because that's what we had as mankind in science. We knew 90 elements. Today I believe there's 103 or 106 elements. So I don't know if C90's ever been tested for that, but just knowing that the creation of seawater has this mineral content in perfect balance automatically, I would imagine that if the good Lord made it that way, it probably has every element, and as man being stupid and us learning, we're learning still what's available within the forms. The one thing about the C90 that literally explodes plants and growth and the strength of plants and growth is that it creates a very strong enzymes in the plants that it grows. Sprouts, wheatgrass, baby sprouts of any type grown with sea solid water has not only a rapid growth rate and an abundance in the yield, but the flavor itself is determined as far greater, and the nutrient content is 38 to 42% more nutritious based off of using sea solids. So mineralization is a big deal. And just to give you an idea, Bud, about why mineralization is such a big deal, when you put fluoride in your mouth, just like Dr. Maynard Murray talks about in the books, the minute you put fluoride in your mouth, even using toothpaste, the amount of fluoride that is there is not an element from the periodic table. It's not a natural, it is a man-made component, and it is literally kills every single enzyme that is in your physical body from the moment you put it in your mouth. So I could say that most Americans, most people in the world that utilize toothpaste with fluoride or fluoride product daily are void of enzymes in their body. And medical field, as written in the books, as in history, has always stated and said that every cure to every disease is based upon the lack of proper nutrition and enzymes in the people that are consuming foods. So getting the highest method of mineralization and enzymes is even more important than just the straight vitamins that we deal with every single day. These are the things that we don't test every day on plants, and we don't look into, or we don't balance them. But looking back in time at the medical professionals, they determined back then that these were the things of the greatest possible importance. Today we don't focus on that, so we're taking a turn back in time and looking at just where the true mineralization comes in.
That makes total sense.
Now, Sea Crop is a company that takes the sodium chloride out of the seawater. What you'll find in this barrel is a nice clear liquid. It's not meant for human consumption. They do have some disclaimers on there, but it is good for livestock and chickens, dogs, cats, etc. Adding it to their water makes their life more wholesome, makes cattle more productive with protein, 30 to 40% more protein, makes pigs grow incredibly fast in comparison to stock grown at in the same clutch or the same litter. And so this is the sea salt version, less the sodium chloride, but with all the other minerals still in suspension in this liquid. Now, this liquid should be used by itself, typically during watering. I did speak to the owner of this company once via email. We corresponded back and forth for my medical garden, and his suggestion was, based on the tests that Sea Crop has on their website at www.getseacrop.com, is they have tests for marijuana that shows that the testing pulled the THCA up over 300% by adding this product about 3 times within the life cycle of the plants,
wow,
marijuana plants. So I was impressed by the amount of THC. My thoughts were that if somebody had a plant that was roughly 28% in THC rating, that by the use of Sea Crop, they could probably jump their THC rating over 30%,
wow,
which is pretty much unheard of and very few strains do today. And it would be done naturally. The one thing I can tell you about utilizing either C90 or Sea Crop is the flavor of the marijuana when you use it to grow is incredible. As my bud here grows some of the finest organic no-till, and his flavors and flavonoids that have come out, the terps that have come out in this last cut down have been second to none. We were just taking bong rips of Tangy that tasted so much like a tangerine, we were really wondering what we were smoking, and we had to take a second look. So this Sea Crop concentrate is something that is
well, I have been using this.
You do use this often,
yeah,
and this is something that I think. Now, this is foliar fed, is what we recommend, foliar feeding it, but you can drench it. You can feed it in hydroponic usage as well. But the label here says not to use it with your fertilizer, and that what's recommended is a 1 to 2% solution dilution for drench and or for foliar. I think the foliar method is perfect for this because the leaves can pull the nutrients in as quick as possible. And we say utilize this during your veg cycle. If you really want to strengthen your plants in the long term, hit your mama plants and regularly feed your mama plants that are well maintained. Give them a drench every month or so, and give them at least 1 to 2 foliar feeds a month, so that you strengthen all the mineralization inside of your mama, and that transposes into your clones, into your next grow. And as you're feeding this and foliar feeding it, your plants are gaining strength and momentum. Now, the one benefit we haven't talked about with all of these products that we're talking about today is what does it do for you aside from making your plants taste better and grow more? It keeps the bugs away. Spider mites don't seem to like it once the plant becomes healthy, and if spider mite infestations are truly based upon a plant being weak, I can tell you from years of using this that I haven't had spider mites in about 1.5 years, and that's very good because the sea solids and the use of this in regular usages, I believe, strengthens your crop across the board, and the spider mites will not touch it. Caterpillars don't like to deal with it. I've used it in my outdoor garden. I've had 2 years with no spider mites in the outdoor garden, no decimation from them during a crop, and far less caterpillars all in all. So this stuff really works, and just know this is the full spectrum of the ocean, less the sodium chloride. Again, the C90 has everything, and the Sea Crop has everything less the sodium chloride.
Nice.
Okay. Now, the last thing we're talking about is one you can make at home. This is called Ormus. This is made so that I can ingest this. I've been ingesting this every day, about a tablespoon a day in the morning on an empty stomach and a tablespoon at night. I made sure mine's sterile and clean, so there's some steps. I don't suggest eating any of those products. I don't suggest eating the Ormus that you make unless you follow the instructions and know clearly what to do and how to do it properly by boiling your seawater ahead of time and sterilizing it. But Ormus is just seawater that I collected at the ocean or purchased at the tropical fish store. A lot of tropical fish stores carry high quality ocean water for high-end tropical fish, and I fill up gallons of that. You precipitate this white gelatinous looking substance out of seawater by raising the pH to 10.76, and then you allow it to settle and you wash it over a period of a couple of days with fresh water involved until the salt water is removed. So Ormus, or orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, is also the full spectrum because it's made from salt added to water. The people who have made Ormus at home know you can take sea solids like this, add it to water to a seawater dilution, and make Ormus out of it. Now what we see here with the white substance is primarily calcium and magnesium, but what's inside of this also is the elements of the periodic table, but even greater than that is the Orme material, the Ormus elements, which are single orbitally rotating elements, which is a molecule that's in a single form, not a cluster of multitude, so there's no mass to it. It defies weight and gravity. There's a lot of very wonderful things about it. I suggest you read about it should you be interested. But for plant usage, the magnesium and the calcium boost the structure of the plant. The Ormus material, the monatomic elements in here, gives a structure to the plant, to corn, to radishes, to squash, that's unseen in any other element. And when this is added to soil, your microbial balance within the soil blossoms and blooms. This is like jet fuel for the microbes that you need for types of incredible organic grows like my bud here with his no-till all organic grow. No even nutrients added anymore because of things like this, building the organics, the natural organics in the soil, the building blocks to life, to all of nature, and stabilizing that, backing it up, and solidifying it, making sure that you're getting all of it out of it. That's what these types of minerals are going to do for your plants. Not only make them taste better, not only give you a higher rate of production, they will produce the plants faster. There's all kinds of tests online at www.subtleenergies.com. You can read about all the tests in Japan where they've been using sea solids and the Ormus material on things like strawberries, corn, cucumbers, celery, with the most staggering of results. And a lot of people out there are also following what Dr. Maynard Murray did with his hydroponic beds, growing tomatoes strictly on the sea solids diluted in water, flooded 2 times a day in hydroponic beds. The most incredible tomatoes. The one thing that I've realized in utilizing these for hydroponic usage, I've grown cilantro, celery, tomatoes, and marijuana in pure sea crop, Ormus, or sea solids. And the one thing I can tell you is there's a lot less foliage on the plant, but the fruiting and the fruit set for the tomatoes is just as massive, if not bigger, and the fruit flavor is far sweeter and greater. The bugs, for some reason, don't like to eat that, but I believe that's because of the high mineral content and the light bit of sodium chloride also. Bugs don't seem to like sodium chloride. So anyway, build your soil. Try one of these organic products, whether you make your own Ormus at home following Barry Carter's wet method on subtleenergies.com, whether you go to www.getseacrop.com and look at their test results for cannabis, or their vegetable results on nutrition, or how fast crops can turn over, and use this hydroponically, or whether you broadcast feed in your garden, top dress in your indoor garden, foliar feed by you making a hydroponic solution or liquefied drench solution. These will all bring all 90 plus elements of the periodic table to your garden, and they will exemplify your plant, your flowers, and your vegetables, and in the bitter end, it does it better for your body.
I can attest to it. I'm using all 3. We're using the granules even on the yard in the urban garden.
That's what I do.
Which is, again, one reason why we're getting record spaghetti squash. We've just had a great year as far as size-wise for the crops. So, yeah, definitely check into this. Anybody that does organic should be doing this. At least know about it, and you know, you can implement something down the road.
You know, a lot of people, Bud, use rock mineral or mineral dust or rock dust, and
Yes,
that's really important for mineral building blocks. But even on some of the best growers on YouTube and the guys that are out there giving the best advice, when they talk about sea minerals, it's a very specialized thing to talk about because most of the time the rock dust is what's utilized. But as they all suggest, utilizing different types of rock dust to get the balance of minerals, this one product or any one of these products brings that entire balance plus the monatomic elements that are involved in them as well. So that's something that's new and still being tested and researched on, but it definitely enhances the production and the quality of the crops that you're growing.
Great point. Also can be used in compost tea.
Yes.
We put it in our teas, and you know, that adds that benefit as well.
Oh, and you know, the other thing I'll share too with you, Bud, is, you know, I did a side-by-side comparison with hydroponic deep water culture buckets, and the one thing I want to tell you within that, I did a comparison with the C90 in comparison side-by-side with advanced nutrients on some tomatoes. And what I found was it was very comparable on the fruit set and the flower set and the production of the fruit, but on the out-of-the-box nutrients, the advanced nutrients, the foliage on the plant was humongous, meaning there was a lot of green leaves everywhere plus the fruit, where when I used just the C90, it was just the fruit. But the one thing that really stuck out in every bucket, wherever C90 was, the roots were literally as white as snow. There was no browning, no discoloration, and the water was as crystal clear as the day it came out of the faucet.
Interesting.
So that alone told me that things can't live, bacterias and diseases can't live in that salt water. So if anything it does do, aside from building the nutritional value, is it's protecting the beneficials also, and keeping away anything like any pathogen like root rot in a water system, etc. I've never had root rot. And one thing, even if the plant grows smaller like cilantro or parsley and your yield might be a little smaller, and maybe you didn't keep the pH proper through the growth cycle, the root mass when you clear out a hydroponic will be gigantic in comparison. So this mineralization affects roots, and you know, in marijuana growth, the roots are always what dictates how big our buds are. So roots are always what we're going for. So
good point.
Try some of this mineralization.
Good point. Thanks. Any questions? Write them down below. We'll get back with you.
Struggling, yeah. Struggling for survival.